Hey, hey, what do you say? Day number 2, madness. Are you ready? And a good afternoon. Good morning, actually. It's 11:05 here on the East Coast. Sean Brace, Joe Tansey with you, getting you ready for today's serving of madness. And all coverage right here on The Gambler, presented by Triple A. Once again, be ready, get Triple A. Don't mess around. Sign up, because when you need it and you don't have it, that's when you're a little bit late to the party. So get AAA. It's the best thing you can have. I had to use it 2 years ago when I got a flat tire. And thank the good Lord above, my wife did have AAA, which, of course, the spouse is covered under that. So you like that. Joe knows a thing or two about being married. You get coverage like that from time to time. Good afternoon, Joe. How we doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Early morning, but that's the way the madness goes, right? I think we were up till 1 a.m. What? By the way, let's. I need to
You
show some.
you were up to 1 a.m. You were.
Look. It was a struggle, but you know what kept me awake? Samford. Thank the Lord they put Samford in the late night time slot, and for some miraculous reason they came back and covered the 7. Almost won. Can we talk about that real quick? That was a block. 100%. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Samford is going to win the game after that point. They could. They
got numbers. They're down by a point, right?
Right. They would have been down by a point, would have had the ball, and
15 seconds.
The out of bounds play that they lined up to get down one, that was incredible. So you knew they had something coming up the sleeve there.
But the coach said it. He goes, just so you know, he's like, I'm not going to go too deep into this. It happened, but the numbers, the ball stayed in bounds. It was a block off the backboard, and then they had numbers going the other way. So they could have got an easy transitional basket to put them up by 1. I think they win that game. The second half was just complete downhill for Kansas. I can't believe
I think it's because the first half was just, they shot 88% in the first 12 minutes, Sean. That's why the drop off was so steep. I mean, you can't, like, it's impossible in an NCAA tournament game to shoot at that high of a clip. I mean, I was even seeing Kansas fans tweeting like, we should be losing this game if it wasn't for the shooting. I mean, look, it was an incredible finish. I'm happy we got the 7.5 home, because the night slate was brutal. Survive in advance. But I'll be honest, there weren't that many moments of madness yesterday.
Well, this is where me and you are going to butt heads a little bit, because we had 11 seeds went 3-0 yesterday. 3 of them advanced. NC State remained hot. Duke over BYU. Duquesne over BYU. Oregon smashed South Carolina. That was a nice, easy dub there. Of course, we had what took place with Kentucky, and that's the top line for a lot of people out there. They lost to St. Peter's 2 years ago. They lose to Oakland first time out. That's a 14 over a 3. Cal with his normal excuses. Bottom line for me, Joe, let's talk quickly about that game last night. Is I don't think they defended a 3 all that well. I know Jack was about as hot as it gets, and he was hitting some ridiculous 3-pointers, but they gave up 15 made threes, and that's why they lost. Look, the freshmen
everything about Kentucky we've known all season showed up last night. They couldn't defend. You're right. Sorry for cutting you off.
You're right.
That's exactly what they were. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And Cal's point, I will say, those freshmen, I forget the number. It was bad. They didn't put up numbers, but Cal saved the. He's in a tough
then maybe
spot.
You shouldn't be relying solely on freshmen in the NCAA tournament game.
Think maybe he's got to revisit that. Yeah,
like maybe adjust here to college basketball in 24, Cal. Like, all these recruiting classes and NBA prospects are nice, but if you want to win, you kind of have to adapt a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think he should be fired.
No, that's my point. And in $33 million, again, we know how college athletics works. I just don't see them.
Well, I mean, look at how much A&M bought out Jimbo for. Where there's a will, there's a way with coaches' buyouts.
Is Cal Jimbo in college basketball? No way. There's definitely more.
Kentucky doesn't have A&M oil money either.
No, you're right about that.
I'm sure there's some very rich donors, but I look at it and see, like, if you look at Kentucky is Kentucky, right? So we kind of have to look through it in that lens. of it being the Kentucky Wildcats, one of the most storied programs in college basketball. But when you look at it, like across the landscape of all of college basketball, hell, what are we going into today with Purdue and Tennessee? Like Matt Painter, Rick Barnes. You could even lump Shaka Smart into that group as well. Like since the Final Four, I don't think he's made it past into the second weekend with the team, whether it be Texas or Marquette. So like there's plenty of other like big name coaches that we give a lot of praise to, and their results are much worse in the NCAA tournament. Now it's inexcusable to lose to Oakland. Absolutely. 110%. I agree with that point. But this is on Cal. Cal needs to now kind of do a hard reboot of what he thinks college basketball in 2024 is. Maybe these guys come back. Maybe their NBA draft stock isn't high. It's not a good draft class. Everybody and anybody who watches the NBA has said that. So maybe these guys do come back. Maybe you improve for a year. NIL's got something to do with that. It's Kentucky basketball. I'm sure their NIL funds are pretty robust. I think there's ways for Kentucky to adapt, but when you're trusting all of these amazing freshmen in an NCAA tournament game, yeah, of course it came back to bite you.
You got to find yourself a Jack who's the transfer who came over.
Find a Dalton Connect.
Yeah, or a Dalton Connect, exactly. Yeah. But Jack was the story yesterday, and Beef, credit to him, before he made the trip up to the gambling cave. This might have been the day before. They did go up on Wednesday night, so it might have been a gambling cave tweet that went viral yesterday. Shout out to Beef. He said, "There's an Oakland guard playing tomorrow against Kentucky who you want to know. He has taken 327 three-pointers this year. He's only taken 8 two-pointers. Let it fly, young man." Well, he did 10 of 20 for 32 points, most versus Kentucky in a tournament game. D2 transfer. He did exactly that. Gonzaga with an easy dub, 21-point victory there.
By the way, Joe, speaking of Gonzaga, I'm happy Beef got something right because
there you go.
He was. I don't mean to rub the McNeese thing in, but like it sounded like pretty bad. That was the easiest win of the weekend. By the way, real quick take on that. Gonzaga's cruising in that game on Saturday. Because here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave this nugget here for tomorrow. I don't know if you've seen the schedule yet for tomorrow.
I know the spreads. I don't know about the schedule, though.
Okay.
I looked at the spreads.
So the assumption was that Carolina was going to be in the noon slot. Tennessee was going to be in the 2 p.m. slot. They're in Charlotte. Their marquee program, CBS, wants them, right?
Yep.
Well, in a plot twist, Arizona-Dayton's game 1 of the day at 10:45 a.m. local time in Salt Lake City, which means Gonzaga-Kansas is the second game up. They put UNC and Tennessee in the primetime slots.
10:45 a.m.?
Yeah, so it's 12:45 our time, but 10:45 a.m. in Salt Lake.
I'm smelling what you're cooking. I know what you're cooking.
You know exactly what I'm cooking here? Okay, let me add to this as well. Where is Salt Lake City, Sean?
I believe Utah.
It is in Utah, and there's altitude there, isn't there?
Yes, there's altitude. Yeah.
How many times have we gone with the altitude shtick over the years? Okay,
it's real. It's real.
So now you have Dayton, the Dayton Flyers, Dayton, Ohio. Very, very, very incredible comeback. Put a lot of energy into that, right?
You're right about that too.
You have Arizona. Look, Arizona's got mountains, but it's not as high as Utah, obviously.
Yeah.
So you have 2 tired teams. 10:45 a.m. local.
Less than first half under.
Less than 48 hours. Let me build it up. Less than 48 hours to prepare at altitude to recover.
Yep.
I don't know what the number is yet, but the first half under has to be in play in that game.
70 and a half.
Oh, I take that.
Yeah. Well, look, the recipe is there.
Yeah.
You know, we have to. And
if I lose that first half under bet, I say, okay, well, congrats to them. I chalk it up as an L and move on. But I mean, the rest
Arizona could go out there and score 55.
They could.
If they're hot, but
I'm willing to take also score 15 in that scenario.
Which kind of worked out like yesterday in Michigan State and Mississippi State. Mississippi State was terrible in that first half. So the under hit. Thank God they were missing everything, or else that would have went over. But anyways, 3-0 day by your boy yesterday. I did touch anything. Nothing really hit me, and I'll be honest with you. I'm looking forward to this little stream here, Joe, talking about these next games because not much has hit me here for today as well. So we'll go down the list. Of
That's
course,
why
we're
I'm
going to
here.
get. That's right. We're going to go down the first 6 games quickly, though. I do want to point this one out from yesterday as well. Now we have NC State and Oakland. This is for tomorrow, Joe, as well on Saturday. This would be the 7th time in tournament history that 11 versus 14 will face off. Just to let you know, 11 seed 6-0 in those previous games. So NC State might be the play there. Hey, good luck. Oakland can get hot, and if they're hitting their threes, I don't see anybody beating them. That might be Steph Curry. I don't know.
And now, if you expand on that bracket, I mean, all the pressure in the world is on Marquette. All the expectation is out there now
for the taking.
because they're the 2 seed. Yep, it's there. And I don't. We'll get into Marquette because they're in the afternoon window, but
okay,
it's going to be fascinating because there's a ton of pressure on them now.
Yes, and with that one bet too as well, Mark Henry Jr. loved the Big East total wins. It was even money. I think it was 8.5. If I'm not mistaken, 7 was it?
7.5. Yeah.
Well, it's there for the taking with Marquette with the patch just opened up. All right, let's do it. We got a lot to discuss. The first 6 games here, Joe and Mark Henry Jr. will be back at 6 o'clock. We're live at 3 p.m. from Nick's Roast Beef out there, Woodhaven Road. All of our coverage presented by AAA. Be ready, get AAA. Let's open up with Northwestern and Florida Atlantic, Joe. 12:20, first tip of the day. FAU 4.5-point favorites, 142.5. I think we're all pretty familiar somewhat with FAU to a point this year. Did have 2 or 3 decent wins. One against Arizona earlier this year. Northwestern, though, I'll put my hand in the air. Didn't really pay too much attention to them in the Big Ten. Wasn't all that surprised because I knew that they were up there winning games, but all right, now I see people taking them in this spot here today. I got no vibe here. 4.5, 142.5 on DK. Where you at?
I actually was able to get FAU at 3.5 this morning, and I'm rolling with that. Look, it's an excellent guard matchup. You have Elijah Martin from FAU and Boo Buie, one of the best names in the tournament at Northwestern. It's just I don't know about the Big Ten.
Hey, I'll just tell you, Rocket Watts is pretty strong, dude.
From former Michigan State guy, yeah.
How about that? That's a good pull by you.
I honestly, I don't know what to think about the Big Ten as a whole, and I know I hate to do this and like speak in like large, grandiose statements about conferences, but yeah, we got Purdue. Okay, Michigan State, Izzo, whatever, they won yesterday. But I look at the Big Ten as a whole, and I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced that it was a great conference. Now, on the other hand, you can say FAU. I mean, look at their losses. Their losses are horrible. A lot of them are. You know, they lost to Florida Gulf Coast. They lost to Bryant. You know, I sat here on Sunday and said they're going to have they would have had trouble getting into the tournament, I think, if they weren't FAU. They didn't have that name attached to them. So that's why it's a little bit, I guess, maybe frustrating that I've kind of flipped on them. But I think that's the play. I think I'm going with NCAA tournament experience here. We saw it in the 8-9 game yesterday with Michigan State and Mississippi State. I think FAU minus 3.5. I wouldn't go above 5. I think if the number somehow gets to 5 or 5.5, you flip because they've had some inconsistencies. But I think at 3.5 with enough NCAA tournament experience, I think they get the job done today.
All right. Yeah. Again, we were talking about FAU on the Selection Sunday show. You thought that they were extremely lucky to be into that seed, correct?
Yeah.
That was your big takeaway. Was
I think because it's the bad losses, right? Because we've spent how many years in a row have we spent when we've talked about these mid-major teams that we love, and then they don't get in. Because of 1 or 2 bad losses. I mean, look at Indiana State. They had 1 bad week in conference play, and all of a sudden, you know, they're on the outside looking in. And maybe if they don't have that bad week where they lose to Valpo and lost to somebody else, like Illinois State, maybe they're in, and we're talking about a completely different part of the bracket. But yeah, they've been up and down, but maybe they're coasting for the tournament. I think that's the theory I also had throughout the season is maybe they're in cruise control because they know they're in the tournament.
All right, next game up here. Let's go ahead and hit it. Big 12 Baylor Bears 14.5 taking on Colgate here. Again, just a big time number. 137.5 is your total. 12:45 tip, second game of the afternoon here. I'm just not dying to lay that number, Joe. Like, as much as I'm going to sit here and tell you, yeah, I like Baylor to win this game. I don't know. Should I feel a little bit more confident in giving 15 points here?
The only thing I'll say here is about half an hour ago, I went to my wife and I said, "Hey, you want to make a pick for the day?" And I opened up DraftKings on the computer, and within 2 seconds, she said, "You know what? I like Baylor."
Okay.
So
that's all we got.
Allie seems to be pretty right on these things, and when I let her pick, and she comes out of nowhere with these. So she said Baylor minus 15. So I guess we all have to ride with that.
Talk about Baylor though. Like, we know what they were when they won the championship. Is this team defensive minded? Like, that was the big thing for me. It was really tough to get a bucket against Baylor. They made their shots. They had some good time players in those runs. But where are they at right now as far as program this year? What type of team are they fielding today?
Look, guard play is still what they hang their hat on, but defensively they're not as strong as they were in the national championship season. That being said, I like the over 138 in this because Baylor can score, and Colgate's that weird mid-major where like they've been incredibly dominant in the Patriot League, but we're waiting for them to kind of break through on the March Madness level. Look, they're a top 100 offense. What scares me with Colgate to even trust them as a dog today, they rank 315th in free throw shooting.
Ooh,
yeah, and that's a big one this time of year. When you look at you need kind of the perfect recipe of bad opponent, hot shooting, all of this stuff. And Oakland had all of that yesterday, which is why they were able to pull off the upset. So to me, that's why it's a little bit difficult to trust the dog here. And if you look at some of the favorites yesterday, I know there were upsets with Oregon, NC State, but a majority of the games yesterday were not close. There were 5 single-digit margin of victories yesterday. One of them being Duquesne, who was ahead of BYU for a majority of that game. BYU made a late comeback, but there wasn't much of substance for 40 minutes. Kansas Samford was another one where Samford made this incredible run in the final 10 minutes. But then you have, I think it was Dayton, Oakland, and there was one other that was within 10 points, and that's it. So maybe that is a sign of we are going to see blowouts. I would prefer not to see blowouts. And I think there are plenty of games today where you will see close games. I just don't know if that's a trend or not. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think we can get to 140 with Baylor and Colgate, 2 top 100 offenses, 2 teams that were, I believe, plus 500 to the over as well.
I like that. All right. Yeah. To your point, 16 total games yesterday, 11 were decided by double digits. And,
actually, sorry, I lied real quick. Colgate's 12 and 21 to the under. Baylor to the over. Baylor's plus 500. I think Baylor drives this game, and Colgate's going to have to score to compete.
Was there any themes for you yesterday? And I bring that up because one I hit on with Oregon was that, look, in my opinion, Oregon was playing some of their best basketball as of late. They were healthier. I think we agreed with that. We saw what they did in the conference tournament. On the flip side of that, South Carolina played much better basketball earlier this season. Yep. So I kind of was like, hey, I'm not scared to give the 2 points here with that. And I thought it was going to be a hell of a lot uglier. I'll give somewhat credit to South Carolina for making it somewhat of a ball game there. But is there anything from you like yesterday? Does that stand true for any games today in your mind? Did that apply to any other games yesterday? Like, because I'm bringing it up because you look at San Diego State in our next game and UAB. UAB is playing some really good basketball. I get it. Look who they played, all that. But they've won 5 straight, just beat Temple for the AAC championship here. I don't know if San Diego State is on that level as far as playing great basketball right now. They are the higher seed. Is there anything true to that from yesterday? Would you apply that to any of the games today as well?
So here's what I'll say to that specific one. UAB beat Temple twice, an SMU team that I think lost 5 or 6 in a row to end the season, and Wichita State, who wasn't good this year, in 4 of those 5 wins. South Florida was the only good team they beat in that stretch. the breaks ended up going their way in the AAC tournament. I will say though that and I'm on San Diego State. I like them to make the Sweet 16. I'm on them today at 6.5, but we're going down the slippery slope with the Mountain West again, Sean. Boise State out in the first 4. Colorado State beats Virginia, the worst team in the field, at least from at larges, and then no shows against Texas. And then Nevada with the collapse of the tournament, one of the worst collapses we've seen in recent years against Dayton. So that's half the Mountain West is already out before the weekend. So we have San Diego State, who's been the exception to the trend in the Mountain West, make the Final Four last year, like that they've been that bastion of consistency. But then what happens with New Mexico tonight? What happens with Utah State tonight? Like, if the Mountain West ends up 1-5 with San Diego State as the only team in, I mean, the takes are going to be flying. Like we talked about 6-bid Mountain West, such an awesome conference, but was the committee right? Like I think that's one of the bigger narratives going into today is Mountain West is 1-3 with a win in the play-in game against Virginia. That's nothing to plant the flag on right now in the Mountain West hill. Now, if you're a fan of the Big East, you got to be livid right now, right? Because you're like, well, maybe our teams deserved it. I'm not going to sit here and say the 1-4 record in the NIT is representative of what the Big East teams could have done in the postseason. I'm not saying they're going to.
You were watching the NIT, so you could speak a little bit more. I assume that the effort really wasn't all that much there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like bowl season in a little bit. The NIT is, which is fine. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and defend the honor of the NIT like Tom Crean. But I think
First of all, where is he at? He was like, he's microwaved with that skin. Is my man, obviously he got paid a boatload of money over the years. He's just relaxing.
I think he made that speech because he's talking with some mid-major AD that wants to bring him in.
Sure. He's a basketball coach.
Yeah. I think that's what he was doing there. I think he was pleading his case to an AD. But yeah, I think
I think the television lights got him too. I think he got fired up on the set. That was good.
Which is fine. I actually saw that live. It was like 10:30 on Sunday night after like 6 hours of Selection Sunday coverage. You gotta come up with something. It went viral. Good for him.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're a Big East fan or an Indiana State fan or anybody who got left out of the tournament at the hands of the Mountain West, you're going to be really, really mad if they go 1-5. I think San Diego State wins pretty easily today. I actually think they might win by double digits. I think that should be in play. If you can find me San Diego State 11+, I'll take it. I think there's a reason why UAB was where they were in the AAC. And if you look at the 4-5, the 5-5, the only significant win is over South Florida. I just have a hard time trusting. I mean, if they beat FAU in overtime at home, they beat USF before they got hot, but they also lost by 21 to McNeese. I have a hard time saying UAB will be NC State.
All right. I'm rolling with you on that one. Next game up, let's go ahead and get right to it. And we're going to be heavily invested, which is troublesome.
We are.
Because 3 p.m. I go live. So it's either going to be a great open or, man, we're going to be down in the dumps. Bottom line, we're taking the Hilltoppers here, baby, to make a run. 14.5 point spread, 157 is your total. This game is going off at 205. Western Kentucky and Marquette. We know the expectations there for Marquette with the 2 seed, but Western Kentucky, number 1, Joe, as far as offensive pace.
Number 1 in terms of adjusted tempo and KenPom.
Let's go. Recipe for success, first to 10, first to 15.
Before we do this, before we give the actual breakdown here, if this loses, because I think this game starts at 2 o'clock?
Yep.
If this loses, do I have to march my sorry butt down Nick's roast beef for the start of the show and just take my punishment on air?
We got 50-cent wings. We got Miller Lite specials. All right. We're going to be live 3 to 6. Hell, I'd like to see you win or lose. All right. But bottom line is, look, if this, We remember we talked about on Selection Sunday. I think it was Sunday when I asked you. I said, Joe, I like the first to 10, first to 15, and your eyes lit up, and you go, I got the team. It's Western Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers are there. We're looking at plus 185 first to 10, first to 15 plus 220. This is definitely one that I want to be invested in, have some fun, and see what we got. Right? Like, there's
So
no reason why not to take a shot.
Here's the case for Western Kentucky, right? Number one in the adjusted tempo on KenPom. Now, I'm not saying they're a great offensive team, but you at least know they're at least gonna try and push the pace early against Marquette. Marquette, Tyler Kolek, he's been out for a few weeks. Is he a little bit rusty? Potentially, we don't know, but there's at least a little bit of a what if there. Where you think, you know what? Maybe if Marquette's feeling the pressure, all of a sudden that entire part of the bracket is wide open for them. Kentucky is gone. Texas Tech is gone. Who knows what's going to happen in that 7-10 game between Florida and Colorado, but Marquette's going to be favored. The expectation on Marquette was already to make it to the second weekend and potentially the Elite Eight. Now the expectation is to get to the Elite Eight. Like, the pressure is on Marquette. How are they going to be able to deal with that? I don't know. And I feel like this is the perfect team to do it. I don't think Western Kentucky wins this game. I really don't. But I'm taking them the race to 10, race to 15, race to 20. We're going to climb the ladder in the first half, see where it takes us. You and I tried this on the side last night with South Dakota State. They got their open looks. It just didn't happen. Iowa State was a wagon at the start. But I feel like this is the perfect opportunity. Kolek maybe a little rusty. Marquette pressure. The pace that Western Kentucky plays at. And I'm saying all this. I'm actually on the under in this game.
Whoa. I don't hate it, but that was surprising, right? Everything we're cooking up there, and you're like, well, I like the under. It's 157. It's a high number. I would assume that's probably the second highest total on the day, only behind
Bama Charleston.
Yeah, exactly. But 157 under, that's fine. Again, keep it close, slow it down a little bit. I'm fine with that. Again, 14.5 point spread.
Here's how I see this game playing out, and I could be completely right, completely wrong. I think Western Kentucky tries to enforce their will and first enforce their pace right away, which is why I like the race to whatever. I actually like them 14.5 as well, because I feel like if we're going off of that game plan, right, the game script, if they're going to push the pace, I think they're actually going to end up being close to Marquette at the end of the first half. Again, we're just projecting, but this is kind of where I see it going. So then if we're projecting that, say it's like 2 or 3 points, whatever it may be at the end of the first half, well, Marquette's going to have to correct, right? And that comes with better defense. And who knows if Marquette's their shooting is going to be on point right away. It's an early game. It's first tip-off in the arena, whatever it may be. So I feel like it's a very specific game script I'm kind of going off of. But I'll take the Hilltoppers at 14.5. I'll take the under. We're going to do the race to 20. I feel like we're setting up for if Western Kentucky has a really good first half, we're going to have a really good day on our March Madness bet, Sean.
I totally agree with that. Again, just like you said, pressure there. Kolek return, and I'm sure he's ready to go, but he missed 6 straight games. Will there be any rust? I believe in Marquette. I think I got Marquette in my bracket. Who cares? But in the Final Four, I love them. But again, I think you're on to something here today. So why not? Let's take a shot. Let's have some fun.
I hope I'm on something.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, let's go. Keep it going here. Next game up on the Madness for today here. We are now entering into 250. Number 1 overall, UConn, 27.5. They're favored here over Stetson, 146. I'm not even going to ask you whether or not UConn can cover this number, but give me something on Stetson. Is there anything on Stetson that moves you to like think positive about them at all?
Yeah, their backcourt's electric, actually. Jalen Blackman,
really?
Steven Swenson. In the ASUN tournament, they were phenomenal. Their backcourt was really, really awesome to get them here. They scored 94 in the conference final, 83 and 88, and all at home. So take that with a grain of salt because they play on the home courts in the ASUN tournament. But if you look at their wins dating back to January 25th, only 2 of them had them score lower than 80 points. So that's what, 10 wins, 8-2 with 80 points. Now look, it's completely different, right? When you play the number 1 overall seed, the reigning champion UConn, and this isn't a UConn team that's complacent. I think they're going to use Purdue from previous years. I think they're going to use Virginia as an example, Kentucky from last night as an example. I don't see a coach like Danny Hurley experiencing an early NCAA tournament letdown as a reigning champion. I think that he's going to be as intense, maybe even more intense, as he usually is for this game. I don't know if they'll cover, but I think this is a game you can comfortably kind of forget about after 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. Again, it's the number 1 team. If UConn plays their best, they can win by 50.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued with Stetson. At least you did give me something positive there. So we'll see.
They'll at least try and be fun.
Yep. All right, let's go to New Mexico and Clemson. Seeing a lot of people on New Mexico. Not Joe Tansey. He flip-flopped. I still believe he's on Clemson. He's catching 2 here. New Mexico, 2-point favorite, even though they are the lower seed. 152 is our total in this one. That's a high number there, Joe. What's your breakdown on this game?
I don't believe in the Mountain West. I don't. I'm going to sit here and say it. Look, it kind of showed its face over the last 24 hours. And San Diego State is exempt from that trend because they've actually made deep runs in the NCAA tournament. Look, I think New Mexico is awesome. I think that's a great story. You have the son of Rick Pitino, Richard Pitino. You have Jamal Mashburn's son. You have Eddie Alice's son. Like it's a cool legacy thing, right? If you're an old head and you've watched the NCAA tournament for decades now and the NBA for decades. And it's cool, right? It's name association. It's stuff that you want to latch onto. But man, this is still a team that lost to Air Force just 3 weeks ago. Like if you look at their body of work after the calendar flipped to February, it's not great. And they've given up a ton of points in those losses. I get it. The majority of those defeats in that time were to NCAA tournament teams. But still, like, they were playing desperate last week because as we found out afterwards, had they not won the Mountain West tournament, they wouldn't have been in. So it's really interesting and fascinating for New Mexico now. They're the hot team in the Mountain West. But what have we learned about the Mountain West in 24 hours? We're not up to snuff to play a full 40 minutes. Nevada was close, and then they fell apart in the last 7-8 minutes and let Dayton back in the game with a 19-point lead. So I don't know. I really have a lot of concerns for New Mexico. That being said, I'm on Utah State tonight, mainly because I'm not a huge fan of TCU. But I think Clemson gets it done. They've got enough shot makers. And by the way, you remember Joe Girard from Syracuse?
No, name doesn't ring a bell, but go ahead.
Okay, well, Syracuse hasn't been good anyway for quite some time. So,
yeah.
And I'm happy with that.
I could have just I'm okay with Syracuse. Oh, yeah. Joe Girard.
Yeah. Joe Girard. Veteran point guard. PJ Hall, one of the better players in the ACC as well. I think they have enough talent to compete with New Mexico. And I think this is the classic case of everybody's on New Mexico. Everybody. And it feels like the perfect place to pivot, to be honest with you. And seeing the Mountain West struggle, the non-San Diego State Mountain West struggle, I'm a little more confident in Clemson. I'm not saying it's like most confident play of the day, but if you're going to give me Clemson, the 6 seed plus money, who's been decent in the ACC this year against a team from a conference that it really, quite frankly, has not proven itself whatsoever in March outside of San Diego State, I'll take that. Which, by the way, a quick aside, I think I saw some people mistakenly attribute BYU's loss to the Mountain West yesterday, which was pretty funny because they're like they're like Mountain West adjacent, but haven't been in the Mountain West for like forever.
Well, look, that game, as you pointed out, I think a lot of people are like, not passing the smell test. Again, Clemson probably on more people's minds than anything, but you get some prognosticators on national TV, all these college basketball pundits, and they're New Mexico, and it's like, all right, that's why a lot of people are on it. But we'll see. Again, it's only a 2.5 point spread flipped. I believe Clemson opened up as favorite, And now they are the dog here in this one. Joe,
you know which team is like that in the night slate?
talk,
James Madison.
JMU, a lot of buzz behind JMU. Wisconsin could be playing good basketball right now, right? Like they're playing. That could go to them. They clearly look different now, in my opinion, than they did 2 months ago.
The problem is Wisconsin's got the worst 3-point defense in the field.
And is JMU going to fill it up?
JMU's got a really good 3-point offense. That's the stat everybody's hanging their hat on with that game.
Are you going to take the 5.5?
I'd take the 5.5 and the money line.
Nice.
I have. This is a little bit of a spoiler for later, but I'm already locked into it, so whatever. I have JMU and Charleston winning outright tonight.
Woo!
I don't think Alabama can play a lick of defense.
How did Illinois look yesterday on defense?
I mean, they look great, but in the second half, like the first half, they were. I mean, shout out Riley Minix, Morehead State. They made that close. It was an exciting game, and then it wasn't. All of a sudden, they just flipped that game on their head, and look, they were bigger. They better talent. They made their shots, and they made Morehead uncomfortable. What they did offensively is they kept going at Minix in the paint left and right and tired him out.
What made me uncomfortable? That kid at the free throw line from Morehead State. Good grief. Dude, how are you a Division I athlete playing basketball and you shoot free throws like that? I just.
By the way, you want to talk about free throws? Drake. Oh my goodness. They would have won that game if they made their foul shots. Second year in a row, they blew it. They could have beat Miami last year too.
Some tough melts, man. Tough melts yesterday.
Do we need to do a wellness check on Beef, by the way?
Yeah, I think Beef was upset with that one because the gambling cave reaction was pretty damn good. The table is filled up with high noons and Miller Lights and pretzels, and all of a sudden you get the the hands over the face.
We need like a camera on that cave right now. It's about 15 minutes until tip. I assume we all slept in. And let's hope there's some nice like breakfast sandwiches or something for them because good.
Ain't no one bring no food there. Come on, man. They you know darn well what they did. They woke up and then they had to drive to it's not Wawa. What is it? It's the other one.
Sheets.
Yeah, there was probably a Sheets right down the road that they hit. And they actually got some good sandwiches. I've stopped at a Sheets before. They have them up in Scranton, so they got some food. Yeah, not bad. And that's how
I do see Beef in the comments saying one play for the day, Texas A&M. Oh boy. Those he couldn't.
What does that even mean?
He couldn't put the ampersand in. The and sign.
There you go. That is it. That's it right there. All right. Also, Sean Menard checking in with some names from college basketball. Anchor.
I think he meant chore.
Okay. Well, and then Cheeks. Enoch Cheeks.
I feel like he's setting us up with that.
Yeah. That's a good call by you, Jeff. Nice. All right. I'm like, Ron Burgundy. I'll read anything off a teleprompter.
I know you will.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go. Rapid fire day 2. Got some fast ones for you. I want to get your thoughts on a couple jabs here and some big picture items as I pull DraftKings Sportsbook. Once again, all of our coverage presented by AAA. Be ready. Get AAA. I lied to you. The second highest total on the board. Yeah, Colorado and Florida by a point more. 158. Florida lost their big man. What is your take on that game? Colorado favored by a point.
I don't think it has anything to do with the big man. I think if Colorado can score with Florida's guards are the story. But if Colorado's NBA prospects can show up, and by the way, Eddie Lampkin, I'm ready for him to take over as well, and for America to fall back in love with him. And also, look, the first 4 trend is kind of you have to at least consider it, right? An at-large team has won at least one more game in the NCAA tournament after winning in the first 4 every year except one since 2011. Well, Colorado State blew it last night. Look, I'm on Colorado in that game. I think Colorado can do it, and it's not just solely on the trend. I think they're trending upward in the same regard that Oregon is.
What's the number one game you're looking forward to the most today?
Nebraska Texas A&M is going to be fantastic.
Ooh.
You have on one hand Keisei Tominaga from Nebraska, one of the most electric guards for quite some time, really, in college basketball. And I believe Nebraska hasn't won an NCAA tournament game, so that there's a lot of pressure on that. And then Texas A&M's guards, Wade Taylor and Boots Radford, are phenomenal as well. Like if you love guard play, Nebraska Texas A&M is your game. That's going to be a fantastic start to the night slate. You're going to be your quintessential 8 versus 9. Just it's going to be a war. There's going to be a lot of scoring, which is probably bad news for whoever advances to play Houston. But it's going to be one of the best first round games you will see.
All right. Will that game go over 173? Yes or no? Charleston, Alabama.
I've been chasing unders on Alabama all year, so I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Charleston can hoop as well. It's not just Alabama, and if Alabama continues to refuse to play defense, look at the Samford game and how fast paced that was. That game was easily in the 160s. I think they had like 50 points by the 10-minute mark of the first half. Now you need a little better pace for Alabama, but the way Alabama plays, any total is attainable.
One first half under you're recommending for the people.
Auburn, Yale.
That is a 420 game, 14-point spread. 140 is our total. First half spread will be 66. Our first half total is at 66. So we're on the under 66.
I'm on the full game under in that game. It's the only under I'm betting today. So I think that's obviously the way to go. Auburn's defense is fantastic. And they play well against the lesser talented schools. I'm still skeptical about Auburn against a San Diego State or a UConn. But remember, they won the SEC tournament, but they didn't play Tennessee. They didn't play Kentucky. They didn't play Alabama. They played Mississippi State and Florida and South Carolina. So, yes, they won the SEC tournament, but take that with a grain of salt. But I think their defense is going to be fantastic. And I don't know if Yale has the athletes to deal with what Auburn can throw at them.
And a 13 seed in Charleston you have winning. Is that your biggest upset of the day?
Yes. Okay. Charleston and JMU at night are my two big upsets on the board. It's still a little scar that Samford didn't get there, but it is what it is.
All right. And final question. A friend of mine came in last night. I ended up catching the games at the bar after 5 o'clock. Ended up getting there. I was home relatively early. 10. I was home by 10.
That's early.
I was sleeping by 11.
Oh, I had to struggle. I was watching the games with my brother-in-law, and the fact that we had 3 games tip after 10 o'clock was a struggle. We got there, but yeah. I'll just say there's going to be a lot of sleep tonight.
Yeah, I was out. I was passed out, which is all right because we got a big day today, and of course the weekend fast approaching here. Oh, it is the weekend. It's Friday. So a friend of mine came up to me, goes, "Who's got the look? Remember last year?" Because I said UConn. That was my thing. I'm like, UConn's got the look. UConn's got the look. Had a future on UConn from like November, early December. Who had the look yesterday, in your opinion? The look of cutting it all down or taking it all down?
Gonzaga.
Ooh.
I mean, that game wasn't even close from start to finish. They handled their business. And what have I been saying for the last few days? This isn't the Gonzaga from January. This is actually a really good Gonzaga team. We just say they're in a down year because they're a 5 seed and they struggled to start. I'm very interested to see how they deal with Kansas. I think they beat Kansas. You know how high I am on Gonzaga. I think in terms of from start to finish, 40 minutes, Gonzaga had the most complete performance yesterday.
All right, Joe. Well, I need to come up with some plays here. I'm going to tweet these out. I got 5 more minutes to cook up something in my head here. But 3-0 yesterday, not a bad little start. Let me go ahead and tout that a little bit. Definitely riding with you on Western Kentucky first half, or race to 10, race to 15, race to 20. That's going to be fun. I'm going to take them. I can't believe I'm taking the points with Western Kentucky here. Damn. But I'm going to ride with Western Kentucky. That's definitely one play for today.
But by the way, real quick, if that doesn't hit, we're just that clip ceases to exist by 2:15. We didn't post that whatsoever. No. Western Kentucky, we said nothing about them on this show. Whatever we said about 20 minutes ago, just completely erase that Men in Black style boom from your memory.
Boom.
But if it hits, we're doing the victory lap.
Oh, we're going to be doing more than that. That's going to cash in nicely. I am on Grand Canyon. That was a play that I put in immediately. We'll see what happens on that one. Catching 5.5 or 6, whatever that one.
Grand Canyon, I think, smells a little like McNeese.
We're about to find out. I'm not a big St. Mary's guy. I know they beat Gonzaga in that championship game. I think they split in the regular season. We'll see. I'm ready for them to prove me wrong.
Sanford, Kansas, the best late night tip to keep you up with the points yesterday. St. Mary's Grand Canyon, the worst late night tip to keep you up. Because man, if that game hits the 135, I would be stunned.
All right, first half under.
The number's going to be low.
131 for the game. 60. Why not? Because St. Mary's is going to dictate the pace, right?
I'll let you know how I'm feeling at about 7 o'clock. If Western Kentucky does something, then maybe you can convince me. I'll ride with you on that first half under, but I'm a little skeptical on that.
45 minutes, bang. That's what we want to do here. Once again, all of our madness coverage presented by AAA. Be ready. Get AAA, folks. Download the app. Check them out online. Don't think twice. Get AAA right now. You'll need it eventually. And when you do need it, you'll be thankful that you have it. Hopefully, you're able to go ahead and get it because of us talking about AAA, presenting all of our college hoops coverage. Once again, I will be live. We will be live. Daily Ticket from Nick's Roast Beef, Woodhaven Road, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Stopping out 50-cent wings, Miller Lite specials. They got people creeping through there. It's going to be a great time. It's a really nice spot. We watched the unfortunate game, the Bucks and the Eagles playoff game. Really cool spot. Nice bar. Huge TVs everywhere. Come on out, especially if you're in that neck of the woods. I'm going all the way out there. It's taking me 35 minutes to get there, if not more.
Oh, come on 35 minutes. Boo-hoo.
Hey, 35 minutes right now. You know what it's going to take me at 2? You know what it's going to take me at 6 to get home? Yeah, exactly.
And how many times have I gone from that neck of the woods to you, Sean Brace, in how many years?
I know. So I'm going out there. Get on out there. It's a Friday. Let's go. And, of course, Joe and Mark Henry Jr. will be live at 6 p.m. immediately following us.
In full Western Kentucky body paint if they win.
Let's go. Awesome. For Joe Tansey, I'm Sean Brace. Everybody enjoy the madness. Good luck on all your plays. Make sure you download DraftKings Sportsbook. Use Brace as a promo code for you new users. They got some great specials. Talk to you live from Nick's Roast Beef at 3 p.m.